have saved over 1 trillion naira from fuel subsidy removal, says federal government. Federal government label negotiating new minimum wage, says Tinubu. CBN exempts microfinance banks, mortgage banks from cash withdrawal limits. Oil prices hit multi-month highs on tightening supply. As Asia market mix has private sector survey showed China's factory activity fell in July. And on the program today, we will be analyzing the talking point in President Tinubu's broadcast to the nation. The program is Business Express, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. I am Musa Bakar, your guide. Let's begin by telling you that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu says the administration saved more than, or rather 1 trillion naira in 2 months of implementing his predecessor's fuel subsidy removal policy. The president, who stated this in a nationwide broadcast on Monday night, justified his decision not to take the country back to the days of fuel subsidy payment, saying the huge amount of money will have been lost to smugglers and fraudsters.
Even when it attracts a bit of inconveniences, ending the fuel subsidy and preferential multiple foreign exchange rates is part of a well-thought-out fight to save the nation from imbalances that had plagued the economy.
The whims of the...
This much, President Bola Tinubu would want Nigerians to know and appreciate as he seeks their understanding in this trying time.
I understand the hardship you face. I wish there were other ways, but there is not. If there were, I would have taken that route, as I came here to help, not to hurt the people and the nation that I love so dearly. What I can offer in the immediate is to reduce the burden of current economic situation, which has imposed on all of us, most especially on businesses, the working class, and most vulnerable among us.
The federal government, the president says, is working to implement interventions that will cushion the pains of Nigerians across socioeconomic brackets. 4 executive orders signed by the president will provide needed incentives for the manufacturing sector and offer a boost for the micro, small and medium-sized enterprises.
We are going to energize this important sector with 125 billion. Out of the sum, we will spend 50 billion conditional grant to 1 million nano businesses between now and March 24. Our target is to give a minimum of 50,000 each to 1,300 nano businesses owners in each of the 774 local governments.
He assured Nigerians that the country will soon exit the darkness to enter a new and glorious dawn. In the State House, Adeni Itaiwu, NTA News.
Now, Monday, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, in a nationwide broadcast, presented a 41 paragraph address to Nigerians on the nation's economic challenges and what government intends to do to address some of these challenges. To speak on most of these issues raised is senior economist with SPM Professionals, Paula Laje, who joins us via telephone. You're welcome to Business Express.
Yeah, thank you so very much for having me. A beautiful morning to you, sir.
Okay, let's now dive in. President Bola Tinubu's address yesterday, he spoke on the current economic challenges, emphasizing the need for policy measures to combat them. What do you make of this?
Well, it's important for us to look at a way of mitigating against some of these challenges that we have. And I think, in the opinion of Mr. President, that was what he tried to discuss yesterday with Nigerians. Because obviously, he knew that Nigerians are going through a lot. So it's important as a leader to find a way to mitigate against the pains that people are going through. And I think that was exactly what he tried to do yesterday, so that people will know that the president had their interest in his mind. So I think that's what he did. And I've seen that a number of things that he mentioned that he would do. For me, I think it's an improvement from where we were at the time. So this is a bit of improvement compared to 8,000 naira that was promised to the population. At least we can see a number of things, even though all of these things that I mentioned, most of them are loans. We have seen government increasing 200,000 as strategic grain to cushion the effect and see how that can reduce inflation. We have also seen that the president had mentioned that he would do invest about 150 billion naira on cultivation of rice, among other important seeds. So these are the things that we have seen him mention, and that it will take between July, that was yesterday, last day of July, to March 2024. Also, so these are some of the things the president had mentioned that he was going to do. So I could see that his attention, as at yesterday, was on how to support businesses, how to support farmers, and so on and so forth.
Okay, another thing is the rationale behind the removal of fuel subsidy. You talked about it somehow benefited a few Nigerians. What, in your opinion, is the way out of this?
Well, to me, I will tell you that when you say fuel subsidy benefited a few Nigerians, I have never believed in that.
Okay.
I have never believed it benefited a few Nigerians. Because when you look at economic theories and applied economics, they are two different things. When you look at subsidy removal, 60% of income of the poor has been eroded. Only 15% of the rich have been eroded in a recent research. So yes, I know that there are few Nigerians that are pocketing money. I know that there are few Nigerians. I know all of those. The question is, what is the impact on 133 million living in multidimensional poverty? What is the impact on 93 million Nigerians, I beg your pardon, living below the poverty line? It's tremendous. It's huge. So yeah, the argument in economic theory is that there are few Nigerians pocketing it, but that for me is what is mostly in the public domain. But when you zoom in on the real issue, when you have deep conversation about it, you note that the poor who are not pocketing, if they are asked to pay without pushing the effect on them, then the impact will even be more than what we are discussing now.
Okay. Now, the removal of the multiple exchange rate system was also highlighted as a crucial step to prevent currency speculation and promote fair economic growth. Now, the thing here is most companies, when they report their half of the year report, it shows a lot of them lost money. I don't know, is this particular floating of the currency the way to go?
Well, it's like we put too many things in our mouth to chew at the same time. So it's definitely having effect on us, and the effect may be a bit longer.
So it's not short term.
Currency on one hand. On the other hand, we have also liberated the downstream of oil and gas market, especially for PMS. So the impact is supposed to be seen directly on the income of financial sector or most businesses. But we need to manage this well. If we don't manage it well, yes, money will be in public sector, but because two other critical sectors are having setback, which is business and household, Nigeria may have a negative growth or have even less than 2% GDP growth rate. Because some of these we see inform what is happening to GDP. So it's very critical. It's very important. I have said for us to float our currency. I remember I was speaking with one of your colleagues, I think a year or 2 years back. And I said floating our currency without adjusting the fundamental is like asking a comedian to fight Anthony Joshua in a boxing game. Because if you look at it, what are we really exporting apart from crude in large quantity? Sesame seeds and what? If you look at the complexity index reports by MIT, we have been rated the least among all the countries in the world that were compared. So we have to do more with trade authority. We have to do more with the fiscal authority, so that the value of naira is important. When we devalue currency, we devalue the sweat of people. That's the meaning. We devalue their sweat as well. But you see, to concentrate on the question, I don't think Nigeria can stay on the floating rate. And that is why, if you listen to the president carefully, he said government will intervene where and when necessary. Because it's obvious that we cannot carry a Burj Khalifa on our heads and stand on one hand and one leg. It is obvious. So intervention is important. See, there are several schools of thought in economics, but I will mention two most popular ones. We have classical school that says forces of demand and supply to educate price. In fact, in the modern term, we call them neoclassical. But there are other schools, which I belong to, by the way, called the Keynesian school of thought. The Keynesian school of thought believes that initial one, which is the classical school of thought that believe in the long run, forces of demand will adjudicate price. That long run does not have a time. Ask any economist to tell you the time. Nobody will be able to tell you that this is when the long run will come. So here is it. It's important for government to have enough resources to implement, which is the reasons why I will support government to an extent. And giving subsidy is eroding government revenue. Two, allowing the old exchange rate to work will mean that government will not have enough in terms of maximization from receipts from sales of crude. Those are two key reasons why we have seen some of the policies, and according to the advice given to government by IMF and World Bank, I have some of the reports, I've read them myself. So they needed government to have resources so that government can spend on education, on health, on road, on infrastructure. But there must be a caveat to that. Government still has the responsibility to protect life and property. Government still has the responsibility to ensure the welfare of the people does not depreciate. So in achieving the first one of building infrastructure and all of this, having more money, the question is, how are we able to maintain or to compensate the level of welfare of the people? So it is good that we have seen some rollout of policies from government, even though, my personal opinion, I think the timeline is too long. We can use hope to eat breakfast, but hope will not be a requirement to wait and say that if we are hoping for breakfast, we also use hope to eat dinner. It will be too long. Hope deferred even makes the heart weak. So I think March next year is such a long time. And I also feel that with some of the things President has rolled out, but the inclusion of financial institutions to be used should have happened even before the president was sworn into office. So, but it is better late than never. Can we start seeing some of these things going out? Can we start seeing this support? And this should not be the last one. And I will tell you why I think so. We have over 14 million SMEs. Government is targeting. For SMEs, for small businesses, government is targeting 100,000.
That's actually the area I would like you to, share your thought with us. This 100 and is it 25 billion to be invested in small and medium-scale enterprises. What's your thought on that?
So yeah, it's good, but when you look at the number, we have over 14 million. We are targeting 100,000. There's a mismatch. Government will spend the money because people will come back and accuse government of corruption. No, government will spend the money, but it will not show.
So how do we make it show?
Thank you so very much. We need to escalate whatever we want to spend massively. That's one. You need not less than 5 million at least if you want to do that support. Two, the direct impact of what we are feeling, the same thing that is happening in Nigeria, anybody can go and read about Pakistan. This same thing, exchange rate devaluation, subsidy removal, also happened in Pakistan this year. But Pakistani is having a different approach to it. They increase minimum wage in Pakistan by exact value, they increase quality of life by 35%. That is, if your quality of life is emaciated by 35%, government look for exactly that amount, that the impact on inflation, the impact, and they refund it to the people. The meaning of that is that if minimum wage were to be about 300,000, were to about 30,000, and government notice that 30,000 cannot even take you to your office anymore, they ensure that they pay an amount that will take you to office that will compensate your life to how it was before some of the policies were made. That's what Pakistani government did. Two, they rolled out buses at a national level and subnational level, and the buses were running on CNG. And that happened the moment the policy was introduced. Nigeria is a population that is similar to Pakistan. Nigeria is a country that is witnessing some of the challenges of Pakistan. And I think this will be a too good initiative to add to what Mr. President has announced yesterday.
So, in your own opinion, or if you are to advise the government, talking about the time frame to implement these things, tell us the time frame. What would you advise?
Implementation should have started April 2023, before the president is sworn to office. Implementation should have started. Because the time for planning, what I saw came across as there are still some planning, cutting the teeth. For instance, your minimum wage will come. Your in-pay review will come. It's as though that has not been concluded. I don't work in public sector. So I'm not speaking because I want to earn more money. But I'm saying that, hey, the impact of what is going on, it's already telling on many. That's my point.
Okay.
So I think the implementation should have started by now. We should have even been somewhere in the middle of implementation as we speak. What that means is that we're already far behind schedule. And I hope that authorities will expedite action. The president has spoken, his words are policy, but the timeline needs to be fast forward. He has said between July to March, but that March consideration is just too long a time. I think it should be between August, which is of course today, till worst case scenario November. Because if you are waiting till next year, honestly, we have seen labor threatening strike, we have seen TUC threatening to join. All of these things have tremendous implication on the economy.
Okay, thank you very much.
People are not able to go. You saw what happened in your state
Yes,
yesterday.
of course. Thank you very much, Mr. Paul Alaje. But the thing here is an ongoing conversation. We'll continue this. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much for having me.
Now, moving on, the African leaders have returned home from Russia with something in their kitty after 2 days of meeting with President Vladimir Putin, shipping 25,000 to 50,000 tons of grain for free to each of Burkina Faso, Zimbabwe, Mali, Somalia, Eritrea, and Central African Republic in the next 3 to 4 months. Agreement on strengthening security in the region, in addition to deepening trade and diplomatic ties against media executives from Africa, believe is the way to go.
Very important in the sense that it's addressing the issues of the economy and also of security. And I think Russia, with its own experience and of course contributions that it has made in the world space, will contribute a lot of the gaps that have created in Africa. And I think we Africans stand to achieve a lot by getting a very good tie and understanding between the continent of Africa and, of course, the Russian Federation.
Now, the African media, as mouthpiece of the region, is expecting a resumption of a deal that kept grain flowing from Ukraine to the region. The volume of trade between Russia and Africa's 1.3 billion people amounts to about $18 billion. The Central Bank of Nigeria has directed that all microfinance banks and mortgage banks that provide banking services to the economically active poor be exempted from paying the processing fees for withdrawals above the cash withdrawal limits for direct withdrawals from their correspondent banks. Circular by Director, Payment System Management Department Musa Jimo indicates that the move will enable them continue to play their expected roles in the economy and provide specialized retail banking services to their customers. The dollar edge up after federal loan survey. Yen slips. How much is the naira exchanging for other currencies? Let's find out. Now to the capital market. The equities market closed negative as investors lose 391.2 billion naira. The all-share index shed 1.1% to close at 64,337.52 points. A total of 673.4 million shares in 9,788 deals, corresponding to a market value of 6.4 billion naira, were traded. Yesterday's data shows 46% improvement in volume, 21% improvement in turnover, and 22% improvement in deals. The current market capitalization of the Nigerian Stock Exchange is 35 trillion naira. Next is global market update.
Asia-Pacific markets were mixed Tuesday as China's factory activity fell into contraction territory for the first time since April. The Nikkei 225 is up 0.92%. The Hang Seng Index declined 0.44%, while the Shanghai Composite is flat. European markets opened lower on Tuesday as investors look ahead to a busy week of earnings after logging a winning month in July. The DAX is down 0.2%, UK's FTSE gained 0.17%, and the French CAC marginally negative. US stock futures were slightly below the flat line early Tuesday morning as investors await a flood of corporate earnings report. The Dow Jones Industrial Average dipped 32 points, while futures connected to the S&P 500 and Nasdaq 100 both inched higher by 0.1%. African markets opened in mixed territory.
Thank you, Reneka. This is where we end this edition of Business Express. We value your feedback, so keep the comments, observations, and suggestions coming. Be informed that all previous episodes are available on YouTube on the NTA's channel. Business Express returns Wednesday at 3 p.m. I am Musa Bakar. Enjoy the rest of your day.